My name's Tyler Kane. I'm 35, and I've been married to Melissa for going on 7 years. We live out in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Nothing fancy. I'm a mechanic at a shop off 61st and Sheridan. I spend my days fixing engines, rotating tires, and drinking black coffee out of a Stanley Cup that's been dented since 2021. And up until about a year ago, I thought I had a pretty decent life. Melissa works HR for a tech company. She's one of those Zoom meeting with a ring light people. She's smart, sharp with words, always had her nails done, always had an opinion, and for a long time, I admired that. Hell, I married her for it. When we met, she was electric. She used to leave little notes in my lunchbox, flirt in the kitchen, run her hands across my shoulders when I walked by. She made me feel wanted. And then, slowly, she didn't. It wasn't some big, dramatic event. It was subtle, like one brick removed from a wall every week until the whole thing collapsed, and you didn't even notice it was crumbling. It started with her getting tired more often. Long day, she'd say. Can we just cuddle? Then it was headaches. Then I'm bloated. Then nothing. For 4.5 months, my wife, the woman I married, the woman I paid bills for, cooked for, fixed her car, cleaned the gutters for, didn't touch me once. Not even a drunk make-out session. Nothing. You start to wonder if you did something wrong. You try to talk about it gently. One night, I sat her down and said, "Hey, is something off? Are we okay? I feel like you've been distant." She sighed, didn't even look me in the eyes. Just said, "I've just been stressed, Ty. I'm working so much. And to be honest, I think we're just too comfortable now. Intimacy isn't everything, you know?" I didn't even know what to say. I mean, sure, life gets busy. I don't expect romance every night. I'm not a 21-year-old with a six-pack and all-day free time. But damn a kiss? A little spark? At that point, we were more like roommates. No flirting, no compliments. Just meal prepping and sharing a bank account. What made it worse was that she was always on her phone, always laughing at something on TikTok or Instagram. I'd see her sending fire emojis to her friends' selfies, but she hadn't said I looked good in months. She could talk for hours on group chats about celebrity divorces and toxic masculinity, but couldn't say good night to me without turning her back and burying her head in her pillow. I'd come home from work covered in grease and sweat, tired as hell, and she'd barely look up from her laptop. And if I tried to touch her back or kiss her neck, she'd flinch like I startled her. Eventually, I stopped trying. I started sleeping closer to the edge of the bed. Started working longer hours just to avoid coming home too early. Started volunteering to help my buddy rebuild his porch on the weekends. Not because I love carpentry, but because it felt good to be useful again, to be seen. But the moment that really broke something in me happened on a random Tuesday night. It was one of those quiet evenings. She had one of her best friends over, Jenna. They've been close since high school. Jenna's a nurse, lives on the south side, comes by maybe once a month to catch up and drink boxed wine like they're still in college. I always liked Jenna. She's honest. A little loud, funny in a dry kind of way. Never tried to get in our business. Always respectful. Anyway, I'm in the bedroom, door cracked, lying there fully clothed because I already knew how the night was going to end. I wasn't going to try again just to get told, not tonight. So I put on a podcast and try to let the noise drown out the laughter coming from the kitchen. Then my phone buzzed. I figured it was just an ad or a spam text. But when I looked down, my whole body locked up. It was Jenna. I stared at the message for what felt like 5 minutes before even reading it all the way. "Hey, I know this is going to sound wild, but I've been watching this for too long. She doesn't even look at you anymore. Just know, I would never treat you like that. If you ever want to feel what it's like to be wanted again, come here." I blinked. Read it again. And again. It didn't feel real. My wife's best friend, the one who had been in our wedding photos, who helped plan Melissa's bridal shower, had just told me straight up that she would never reject me. I didn't even know how to process it. I didn't reply. I didn't move. I just laid there in the dark, holding my phone like it was about to explode. And I won't lie. Part of me felt disgusted, confused, guilty even. But another part of me, the part that had been quietly dying every night, bit by bit, in that cold, silent bed, felt something else. Seen, wanted, respected. I didn't respond to Jenna that night, but I didn't delete the message either. I just saved it in my head, like a spark in a house that had been dark for too long. And that spark? It was about to light a fire that Melissa never saw coming. I didn't answer her that night. Jenna's message sat there on my phone like a landmine I didn't know what to do with. Just know, I would never treat you like that. If you ever want to feel what it's like to be wanted again, come here. The words didn't feel fake. They didn't feel flirty. They felt heavy, like someone had been watching me crumble and finally decided to say something. I lay there in bed next to Melissa, her back turned like always, one leg kicked out of the blanket like she couldn't even stand being near me. I looked over at her, and all I could think was, she has no idea what I'm going through. Or maybe she does, and just doesn't care anymore. We used to be close. We used to laugh and talk about our days. Now she scrolled through TikTok with her AirPods in and called that unwinding. And me? I stopped even saying goodnight. I spent the next 2 days pretending I was fine. At work, I tightened bolts and replaced rotors while that message from Jenna just kept replaying in my mind. I didn't text her back. I didn't delete it either. I told myself it was a fluke. Maybe she had one too many glasses of wine. Maybe she'd regret it. But the next night, Thursday, I came home from work around 6. Melissa wasn't there. Left a note on the fridge that said, "At yoga and wine night with Jenna. Don't wait up." And man, the irony hit me like a truck. She was with the woman who had told me she wouldn't reject me. The same woman who saw everything my wife ignored. I ate leftovers in silence. Watched the same rerun of Forged in Fire for the 100th time. And then, around 10:30, I got another message. This time it wasn't on Instagram. It was a text. "Jenna, she's passed out already. You don't have to sit there feeling invisible, you know. My door's still open." I stared at the screen. My hand started shaking. Not from nerves, but from this weird mix of guilt, anger, and hunger. Not sexual, just to be seen. So I did what I hadn't done in months. I got up, I grabbed my keys, and I drove. Her place was maybe 10 minutes from ours. One of those older ranch-style houses on a quiet street near the edge of town. I parked out front and just sat in the truck with the engine running. I must have stared at her front door for 5 minutes straight. I almost drove away twice. But then she stepped out. No makeup, just shorts and an oversized tee. Barefoot, hair tied up, no posing, no pretense. She just stood there in the porch light with a soft look on her face and said, "You don't have to be alone tonight." And that broke something in me. I walked up and she stepped aside like it was the most normal thing in the world. No drama, no forced tension, just stillness. The second I stepped inside, I smelled warm vanilla. Her place was cozy. Candles lit, TV on low, couch blanket tossed aside. Nothing was forced. She didn't try to seduce me. She just handed me a drink and said, "Talk to me. Tell me what's really going on in that head of yours." And for the first time in months, I did. I told her everything. I told her how I'd been feeling like a ghost in my own home. How Melissa hadn't kissed me in almost half a year. How she treated me like I was either annoying or invisible. How I tried to be patient, tried to communicate, tried to hang on. And how eventually I just gave up trying. Jenna didn't interrupt. She didn't say, "Well, maybe Melissa's just stressed." She didn't defend her. She just listened. Then she said, "You know you didn't deserve that, right?" I nodded, but it didn't really register. Then she leaned in closer, not even touching me yet, and whispered, "If someone doesn't want to love you, someone else will." That was it. We didn't rush anything. She didn't tear my clothes off. It wasn't pornographic. It was slow, honest, emotional. When she touched my face, I flinched, not because I didn't want it, but because I hadn't felt something like that in so long. It wasn't just about sex. It was about being seen. It was about someone running their fingers through my hair and looking at me like I mattered, like I was still a man worth reaching for. That night, I didn't think once about revenge. I didn't even think about Melissa. I thought about myself, about how much of me I'd buried, trying to be a good husband to someone who barely looked at me anymore. And for the first time in a long, long time, I felt like I came back to life. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of fresh coffee. Jenna was already up, flipping pancakes in the kitchen like we'd been doing this for years. She didn't ask what I was going to do. She didn't ask if I regretted anything. She just slid a plate across the counter and said, "You deserve mornings like this." And you know what? She was right. That moment wasn't loud. It wasn't chaotic, but it changed everything. Not because I betrayed Melissa, but because Melissa had already betrayed us. with silence, with coldness, with the choice to tune out and pretend intimacy didn't matter. I didn't cheat out of spite. I just stopped waiting to be loved by someone who already left the room a long time ago. You ever get to a point where you're just done? Not angry, not bitter, just done. That's where I was the morning after I stayed with Jenna. I got home just after 9 a.m. on Friday. Melissa was already at work. She'd left early like always, probably sitting in some fluorescent-lit office on a Zoom call, completely unaware of the weight that had just shifted under our marriage. I walked into the house, stood in the kitchen, and looked around. Same counters, same coffee mug sitting in the sink, same silence. But I wasn't the same, and I knew, from that moment forward, I wasn't going to pretend anymore. I took a long shower, not because I was guilty, not because I felt dirty, but because I needed to wash off months of rejection, silence, and being made to feel invisible. The water hit my back, and I swear, it was the first time I'd actually relaxed in my own house in almost a year. That weekend, Melissa acted like everything was normal. She made avocado toast, talked about some HR complaint at work, told me that Jenna was being off lately, not replying to texts. I just nodded, didn't offer much, didn't explain anything. And maybe that's what scared her, because by Monday morning, the mood changed. She started hovering, asking more questions. Everything okay with you? You've been quiet lately. Is something wrong? I looked her straight in the face and said, "Now you notice?" That stopped her cold. She blinked, smiled awkwardly, tried to change the subject, but was already unraveling. Later that afternoon, everything came crashing down. I was out back grilling a couple burgers when I heard the door slam. I turned around and there she was, Melissa, red in the face, phone in hand, shaking. What the hell is this? I didn't need to ask. She had found out. Apparently, Jenna had told her everything, not in a petty, gloating way, but in a truthful, calm one. Jenna had texted her earlier that day, told her they needed to talk. Melissa assumed it was something petty about their last wine night. She never expected this. "Are you going to say something?" she yelled, pacing the patio like she was trying to stop herself from breaking something. I stayed calm, took the burgers off the grill, set the plate on the table, then looked her dead in the eyes and said, "What do you want me to say?" She lost it. "How could you do this? With her, my best friend. That's disgusting. You're disgusting." I didn't flinch. "No," I said, "what's disgusting is a wife who goes months without touching her husband, then acts shocked when someone else finally sees him." She opened her mouth to reply, but nothing came out. I kept going. I begged for your attention. I tried to talk. I tried to hold on, but you made me feel like a ghost. I was sleeping next to a stranger every night, wondering what I did wrong. You didn't just reject me physically. You erased me. She finally found words. "You should have come to me again. You should have told me how you felt." I laughed, not out of humor, but out of disbelief. I did, over and over. You just stopped listening. There was a long pause. Then, softer. "But Jenna? My best friend." I shrugged. "Maybe you should ask why your best friend noticed what you didn't." She sat down at the table, hands in her hair, breathing hard. She wasn't crying. Not yet. But her face had cracked. For the first time, she realized I wasn't bluffing. I wasn't threatening to leave for attention. I was already gone. She asked me if I still loved her. I didn't answer. Because honestly, I didn't know. I still cared. Still wish her the best. Still hoped she'd figure her life out. But love? That died somewhere between the third, "not tonight," and the night her best friend said, "Come here." I told her I was staying with a buddy for a while, Mike, and that I'd be back for my stuff in a few days. She didn't argue, didn't scream. She just stared at the floor like she was trying to understand how she lost a man she thought would never leave. And that's the thing. Most men don't leave because of one fight, one bad week, one cold night. We leave when we realize we've been abandoned emotionally for so long that even silence feels more honest than the marriage we're stuck in. A few days later, I went back with boxes. She didn't say much, just sat on the couch as I packed up my tools, clothes, the old hoodie she always wore, and the photo of us at Lake Murray that used to hang in the hallway. I didn't take it to keep it. I took it so she wouldn't look at it one night and pretend nothing ever happened. When I got to the door, she finally spoke. "Do you love her?" I paused, then said, "I don't know, But I know she looked at me like I mattered. And you didn't. And I left. Now, it's been 4 months. Jenna and I still talk. It's quiet. No labels. No rushing. Just two people who've both been through some wreckage, trying to figure out what healing feels like. Melissa? She texted a few times. I'm sorry. I didn't realize how far I pushed you away. I miss us. But I never replied. Because the truth is, she didn't miss me. She missed control. She missed the security of a man who would do anything for her. Until one day, he didn't. Final words for the video narration. Emotional punch. My wife rejected me every night, like I didn't exist. Her best friend saw me once and said, "Come here." And for the first time in a long time, I finally felt human again.